Now, today marks the final day of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Rwanda, where the Prime Minister and the Prince of Wales have been holding talks. Now, while Boris Johnson is there, he faces growing pressure over his job just before he gets off to Germany later today for the G7 summit. Well, our political editor, Darren McCaffrey, has been in Rwanda this week, watching things unfold. Darren, the head of the Commonwealth, have been there to discuss Commonwealth issues, but I guess the journalists have been buzzing with what's been going on politically here at home.
Yeah, indeed, Angela. You're right in saying the Prime Minister has been spending an awful lot of time on Commonwealth issues. In fact, he is currently just outside Kigali, along with the 53 other leaders of the Commonwealth, having a meeting, a retreat, effectively, where issues like Ukraine and food security are very much high up on the agenda. But, frankly, and let's be honest about this, yes, lots of the conversations here in Kigali, certainly amongst the travelling press, has been about his job in many regards, about whether he's going to be able to sustain his position as Conservative leader, given those two by-election defeats in Wakefield and in Tiverton, and that cabinet resignation yesterday. We've seen the Prime Minister this morning for about 30 minutes. Us journalists, he insisted that he didn't think that people wanted to hear about the things he put that he'd stuffed up, but rather that he wanted to focus on the kind of issues that he reckons people are really concerned about, like the cost of living crisis, rising cost of fuel and so on. But in the end, you're right, this is all pretty tricky for the Prime Minister. Clearly politics is very difficult back home, and he's a long, long way away, and he's not due home, Angela, for quite a while, almost a week.
I know that journalists are among the biggest gossips in the world. So what is the gossip that's doing the rounds there at the moment about where he stands and what's likely to happen when he gets back?
Well, this is the big question. It's really quite unknown. Of course, Downing Street are pretty uneasy about all of this. I have to say, the Prime Minister was in the swimming pool yesterday morning when he found out about Oliver Dowden's resignation, or had to get out to answer the phone call to receive that resignation. So there is clearly concern that MPs could be plotting, that cabinet ministers might be on the verge of resignation, essentially when the cat's away, the mice might play. And that is quite difficult. So the Prime Minister is going to travel straight from here, Angela, to the G7 in Munich and then on to a NATO summit in Madrid. He would like to say that he's trying to deal with the big global issues of the moment, not least of all that war in Ukraine. Does not want to see Ukraine necessarily make any concessions, fears that some countries may be piling pressure on President Zelensky to do so. But frankly, you're right, he's under an awful lot of pressure himself and his position. And there is a sense that yesterday was a very, very difficult day for the Conservative Party. This sense that they had lost the seat to Labour, lost the seat to the Liberal Democrats, almost this pincer movement, and that Boris Johnson was a drag on the Conservatives' hope of trying to win the next general election. But in the end, he says he's not going to go anywhere, and that essentially you kind of have to drag him out of Downing Street. But Conservative MPs might have a different plan. We'll have to wait and see.
Indeed we will, and I'm sure we haven't got long to wait either. That was our political editor, Darren McCaffrey.